Probably the funniest thing that I've ever seen on the bank, and probably personally happened to me, and I can laugh about it now, was a lot of people would have seen that when we filmed Edges back a few years ago now, we was at Raysbury, and we moved on to the South Lake, and Raysbury complex itself, I still get loads of messages asking about it. Raysbury complex itself, back in the day, used to be like the pinnacle of carp fishing, if you like, and there was a fishing there called Mary, and you know, it hasn't been around for I don't know how many years. But it was a standing joke when I went on there, because you know, everyone sort of says, oh, the Simo Basher and what have you. So I've gone on to this like historical water, gone on there. So I was making a bit of a joke that, you know, it'd be nice to catch Mary. Clearly known it's not in there. So we're filming away. I'm catching a few fish, like the ones that the recent stockers they put in there. Getting the filming done, and you know, Lewis has stepped up to the plate, got the landing net, and like any experienced carp angler would do, you'd net a fish quite easily. And yeah, so I've hooked this fish. I'm sort of giving it a bit of spill in front of the camera, pretending it's Mary, and Lewis has actually netted it, but I still to this day don't know how he's done it, and I've watched it back quite a few times as well. And the fish has got a bit of weed around the top of the leader. It's gone into the landing net. He scooped it in his sort of like airy fairy ways. He's not the strongest, let's just say that. And as he's gone to scoop it, in a split second the fish is hit the back of the net, unhooked itself and swam back out. And I just, to me, that's the most horrendous piece. Well, it's incredible. So that is probably one of the funniest things that I've ever had. I can laugh about it now. I do genuinely believe if it was an actual like creditable fish and it was a big fish, I probably would have like pushed him in. But needless to say, from this day on, and I filmed with Lewis since, I think he actually netted a fish for me, but the fish was pretty much given up on the surface and anyone would have got it in. So yeah, I think from this day forward, I probably will never ever let him net a fish for me again.
So the funniest thing that I've seen on the bank was probably the face of Mark Pictures when he came face to face with possibly the biggest slug in the world. It was when, now actually before I go into it, a lot of people might think that Mark puts on his fear of slugs, but it is 100% genuine. He absolutely hates them, and they do literally appear in his nightmares. So he's not a fan. So we're filming In Pursuit of Carpiness. We're in Slovenia, absolutely stunning location. A couple of nights in, we caught some carp. Everything was going well, and yeah, it was one morning. Mark got up and he decided that the place that he'd like to go for a piss was directly behind my bivvy. Anyway, he's round there. I'm sat in my bivvy filming the lake, and I hear what was definitely on the verge of a shriek.
Motherfucker! What?
Followed by, oh my god, what is that? And yeah, basically he has come face to face with, when it was at full stretch, this slug was a foot long. No word of a lie, it was a foot long.
Need a brown paper bag.
What's wrong?
There is a slug on the bag of bait. I am not joking. It is like a snake. Mate, I am not even joking. Look at it.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
Are you going to pick it up?
Yeah. That is a hippopotamus slug. I have never... That is like 5 of our slugs put together. Isn't it?
It is, it's massive.
And it was crawling over his bag of boilies, and he was not happy at all. He didn't know what to do with it. He was dragging the bag of bait around, making all sorts of funny faces. He wanted me to touch it and get rid of it, and I didn't really want to do that because it was just massive.
Oh, it's like, it's as long as my hand. When I saw it, it was fully extended. It was like a snake. When I googled Slovenia, it said there was like the highest bear population in Europe, and I thought, bears. But that is worse than anything, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a very, very funny moment, and yeah, one that will live with me for quite a long time. The aptly named hippopotamus slug.
I remember many years ago we used to go and fish the local canals, Trent and Mersey or the Shops Union, and we're middle of nowhere. We found this marina which generally holds fish. I was with a friend of mine, Todd, and obviously he used to flick them across to the far bank, wait for the fish to come out of the marina at night, and used to pick them off either end of the marina. And there's one particular night, he flicks a bait over to the far side, lands with a plop, perfect, we settle down, and then he gets a screaming take in the middle of the night, and it turns out to be a badger running off on the opposite side, down the embankment across the field. What had actually happened is, he flicked his bait across, his hook bait had got caught in the grass, and his lead had slid into the water to give him the idea that his head had lit the water. Badger had come along that night, eating his bait, tear-arsed off down the field. So yeah, I think he pulled for a break in the end. Oh.
Many years ago, I was lucky enough to catch the Nutsy mirror, £50 mirror, and I wanted to catch a £50 common after that. You know, who wouldn't after catching obviously a £50 mirror? And then I thought, well, the closest £50 common to my house was the Berfield Common, which is only 40 miles away from me. I thought that is the perfect place, and I wanted to do it all on my own, and you know, I didn't want anyone to tell me how to, you know, spots, this, that and the other. I just wanted to, you know, make it my own thing, so I didn't ask anyone for any help on anything basically. All I had with me was the map that's in Nigel Sharp's book. So I set off, when this was, you know, many years ago, back when Cemex had it, and the ticket was only 60 quid, and you actually got your gate code about 3 days before you actually picked up the ticket. So I got my gate code key, gone down there to obviously suss it out. For anyone that knows Berfield, it's, you know, it's 120 odd acres, a massive lake, loads of little finger bays, a monster of a place. And you drive down Searles Farm Lane, you've got all the murder swims to your left hand side, and then you drive right to the end of Searles Farm Lane where it's basically a dead end. And to my right there was a Reading and District angling gate, and then to my left you could see Berfield sort of went out across this expanse of water and then sort of bent round this dead end point where this geezer's massive house is. So how do I get round to there? And there's a swim on the left hand side, I forget the name of the swim, but there was a guy who was stalking in the bushes, bit of a random one to be honest. Like, I didn't even notice him there. It weren't until sort of like the bushes started moving that I noticed that there was some guy in this swim stalking. So went over and spoke to him. How do I, you know, walk around the rest of Berfield? He said, well, that Reading and District gate there, put your Berfield code in. Berfield's right in front of you, can't miss it. So I thought, right, sweet. So I've put my click, gate opens, gone in. Very first swim that I've come to, £20 commons, launched itself up out the water. I thought, God, found one straight away. Got up on this stump. I'm stood up on this half-cut tree, looking out, and I cannot explain how many monsters I see. There was carp everywhere. It's early March at this point, and there was just fish all over the swim, big mirrors swimming past, huge commons, and in the background, I suppose about 3 or 4 rod lengths out, there was this massive, like real long common, and I thought that had to be the Berfield Common. It couldn't have been any other fish. Thinking, you know, my first proper look at the lake, and I've probably found, you know, the pinnacle as such. So it was either a day or two later, my ticket had turned up. Obviously, I've gone down Sales Farm Lane, gone straight through that gate, got in that swim, stood up on this stump, this half-cut tree, looking out, nothing was there. So I've got Nigel Sharp's map, I'm looking at this island, there's this big island right out in front of me, a big L-shaped island. So I'm walking up round the side of the pond, I'm about 300, 400 yards away from this first swim. I'm looking out at this L-shaped island, which I'd say is about 130 yards out into the pond. I can just about see what I think is carp back. So I've gone back, got me rucksack and everything, come back with some binoculars, yep, definite carp. At about 130 yards out, got all my kit, got braided up, and it's starting to get dark at this point. Got the rods out, and within half an hour, left down rod's gone. And I've had a 36-pound common. I just couldn't believe it. There was a couple of lads that were fishing, a few swims up, they've come down, done the photos with me, put the rod back out, it's gone again. 20-pound mirror this time. Got the rod back out again, it's gone again. This time it snagged me up, so it snagged me, and I knew Johnny Mack was fishing the water at the time, so I've given Johnny Mack a call. Dude, where are you? Blah, blah, blah. I said, look, I'm in Telegraph Bay, I've got a fish snagged, need a boat. I'll be there in a second. Didn't hear from him. Basically, the fish come off in the end. I ended up having 5 bites that evening. Unbelievable. My first night on Berfield, and I've had 5 bites. Couldn't believe it. So next morning comes around, bailiffs turn up, congratulates me on this football common, tells me it's the football common that I'd had. Well done. And we're at the time, it was when Cemex were, you know, there was rumours flying around that they were on about selling all of their lakes. So we're chatting about Berfield for about 3/4 of an hour, chewing the fat, and yeah, talking everything Berfield basically. Then this other geezer's come round on his push bike, and he's showing me all these photos of these fish that he's had. I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, oh, everyone's keeping these fish really quiet on it. I couldn't believe, like, all these like magnificent looking mirrors and this, that and the other. And then as he's gone to leave, I've given him his camera back, and he's gone, yeah, so I'm done on here now. I'm over on Berfield. I'm like, what? And he's gone, oh yeah, I'm fishing Berfield now. Well, this is Berfield. He went, nah, mate, no, this is Farnham Flint. And I'm like, I've gone from total euphoria to just thinking, nah, I'm not having this. He's just wants me out to swim or something like that. So I'm definitely not fishing the wrong lake. So there was a cut, he's ridden off, like laughing, can barely control his bike as he's giggling away. I can hear him from 100 yards up the bank, laughing his head off. And I'm thinking, nah. He wants me out to swim. So I've walked up, there's a couple of lads fishing. Lads, what lake's this? Yeah, Farnham Flint, mate. Why is that? No reason. Walked back to my swim as quick as possible and started reeling in. It gets better. Now, obviously, I'd given it, you know, the large one on social media, giving it the big I am and this, that and the other. I was on Berfield for half an hour and caught myself this common, blah, blah, blah. And there's this geezer walking up the path. He's got a couple of staffs in his hand and he looks angry. I thought, he's found out that I've caught one of the A-team out of this pond and he ain't happy. And he's walked past me and I thought, I've got away with that. And then he's turned around and come back in the swim and he don't look happy. I'm like, you're right, mate. I'm thinking, here we go, he's going to go ballistic at me here. He went, no, I'm well annoyed. I'm like, well, what's up? He went, well, the football common got caught out of Berfield yesterday and the thing lives in here. I can't believe it. I'm like, oh yeah, terrible, mate. Oh, this fish movement shouldn't be going on. And reeled my rods in and got out of there as quick as I could. That is my funny story.
Yeah, I had a classic one, I don't know how many years ago now. We were fishing a water up near Newport Pagnell in the winter, and there was 2 particular swims that you wanted to be in, and one was far better than the other. And at the time I was fishing with Chris Rose and travelling up there, and so it's a funny story more for him than it was for me at the time. But anyway, we've turned up there, and me being a lot on the lighter side than Chris, so I was always away like a whip hit. And on this particular occasion I thought, I'll just shoot off. I'll grab my gear, we travel together, I'll grab my gear and I'll beat him there. So, didn't put a head torch on or anything like that, still dark. So there's me, I'm gone, I'm off like a whippet, shot off behind, you know, Chris is miles behind, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to bag the good swim. Anyway, unbeknown to me, on this particular, or there's actually 2 lakes, and there was a causeway in between the 2 lakes, and there used to be sheep wandering around the fields and whatnot, and they'd put up one of those big square wire mesh fences, but it only came up sort of just a little bit above waist height, I think. So there's me, obviously I'm carrying my gear, I'm not barrowing it, it's only light, it's in the winter, it's a lot of years ago, and I don't even know if barrows were invented then. And I've got my rucksack on my back, rod holder around my neck, chair under my arm, I'm zooming off. Of course, where it's dark, I've got no knowledge of this fence actually being there, so I've just gone bop, whack into it, over, right? I'm now stuck on this fence, I've got the rucksacks on my head, the rod holder's like, I don't know, without it's hanging around and pulling the strap down, I'm really like a turtle turned on its back. I'm just stuck. Like that. I'm just waiting for someone to come and help me. But obviously I know Chris is behind. So yeah, of course, anyway, he's appeared. Like, you know, finds it highly amusing. I mean, yeah, mate, help me up. Yep, in a minute. So he does no more than go over the fence, goes to the swim, puts his gear in it, and then walks back and gives me a big drag up and just laughing and going, well, looks like you've got the worst swim then, mate, like, you know. So yeah, that was one of many stories.
Funny stories. They probably combine themselves quite happily with the most embarrassing moments of your life. Many years ago, when I fished on Raisbury, when there was 15-20 carp and 120 acres of water, I met some of the most amazing people there. People utterly obsessed with catching Mary, cluster, malins, and the other fish that lived in there. But over the course of time, you've got to bear in mind here, I was an army guy. I didn't see a lot of civilian life and how things were changing out on Civvy Street. And one day, I'm going to call him Angler A, and his friend Angler B asked me if I would go into Staines and get some photographs developed for them, which I was only too pleased to do. Bearing in mind, back in those days, you didn't have somewhere that would do it in an hour or 24. It had to be 2 or 3 days. And I took it to a shop there. I didn't see him when I got back, and I just didn't think anything more of it. But I got a telephone call from Angler B a couple of days later and asked if I would go back into Staines and collect their photographs for them. And again, I thought absolutely nothing of it. When I walked into the shop and handed over the receipt that was relative to what I wanted to pick up, I noticed that the woman looked at me a little bit sideways. And as she picked up the photographs, she said something to her friend, and there was a bloke a little way further behind, and they all walked up and looked me straight in the eye and said the most amazing photographs they'd ever seen. I thought it was going to be a picture of Mary or Malins or cluster or one of those remarkable fish that used to call that place home. Nothing could have been further from the truth. Those photographs were them on a weekend away in Brighton, dressed as women in all of their splendour, with their suspenders and bras and corsets on. And I have to tell you, there wasn't a hole big enough in the world that would swallow me up quick enough when I saw them.
Funniest thing that ever happened to me fishing. Funny things with me tend to be me hurting myself. I think the best one was me and my best mate, who's sadly no longer with us. We were fishing Selby Three Lakes. It's a long time ago now. We're talking, I don't know, 18, 19 years ago, something like that. And at the back of Lake 1, there was a cut through that went into Lake 2. And it was a real known area for one of the fish in there called Victoria Plum to get caught from. And it was a mega fish. I used to love this carp, and it was one that I was obsessed about catching. And just in the little kind of nook and cranny before the cut through, there was this mega climbing tree. And I remember being up the tree
and I was a long way up. Bearing in mind I'm not a little kid, I was a long way up a tree for a big lad, and I was watching this very fish feeding, and JP was on the ground saying, get a bit higher, see if you can see it a bit further, see if you can see it better, I want to know what it's doing. So me being me, decided to shimmy up that little bit further, and bearing in mind fish is feeding on a spot that I've got bait on, probably 4 foot deep spot. I'm 20-25 foot up a tree, and JP's like, go on, go a bit higher, just to make sure, just to see, so you can see what's happening. Not been the best climber, not been the cleverest tool in the box. I decided to stand on the same branch with both legs. Well, you can guess what happened next, can't you? The branch didn't like 15.5 stone stood on it, and I fell 25 feet into the water right next to where Victoria Plum was feeding. Funnily enough, we never saw it on that spot again after that.
One of the funny things that's happened to me whilst fishing, it's probably loads. I'm trying to think off the top of my head now. It's probably things that are similar to other people, have had similar experiences, but one that's probably quite different to many people's experiences. Years ago, I used to fish this syndicate. There was two lakes either side of a reasonably busy road. The bankside where you're fishing was pretty narrow. It was probably just about enough room to get a brolly in there. Then there was basically a little, almost like a motorway crash barrier, and then a pavement, standard width pavement. So one of my mates used to fish it in the evenings in the winter. It was quite a prolific winter water. So we go down after work, do an evening, a few hours into dark, and one of the areas that I was fishing to was, I don't know, maybe 80, 100 yards, something like that, not massive distances, but you had to chuck it. So you stand on the bank, and literally, because by the time you swung the lead backwards, the lead's swinging out over the pavement, probably swinging near the road. So anyway, I'd stand there, a stringer on, I'd like lean back, I could just see past this bush down to the left, up to the right kind of thing. So I'd look back down the pavement and along the road, make sure there's no cars or people there, just in case the lead swung a little bit too far. So I got stringer on, I've leant back, looks back, no, nothing there. Literally just went back. As I've gone to compress the rod, it's literally just, something just happened. And as I've got to here, I've just let go and just gone, I'm like, what the? I turned around, there's a guy on a bike, he'd come down, like on his bike, like, brakes, feet on the floor, ramming these brakes, and I'm like, what the bloody hell's gone on? And so I clicked the bail arm off, and I've just walked down the pavement towards him, like I said, mate, I'm so sorry, are you all right? And he just looked at me, completely shocked, and he was just like, yeah, fine, yeah, mate. And I looked, and the hook was sat in the lapel of his jacket, just here. The stringer was still hanging on it, everything was still there. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I just walked down like that, winding down to this geezer on a bike, asked him if he was all right, apologised, and had to take the hook out of the lapel of his jacket, and he just cycled off. But proper random, crazy situation. He didn't have any lights on, otherwise I'd have seen him. So I tried, I looked, I was trying to observe all health and safety, but unfortunately on this occasion, the fellow didn't have any lights on, and he wasn't wearing the correct reflective clothing. So yeah, bit of a strange one. And when I look back now, it's quite an amusing story, really.
Funniest moments, embarrassing moments. I've got a good one there. We can laugh about it now, but it was about 6 years ago. A group of mates went out to France, and the lake fished really hard. It got to sort of the Thursday, and in France it's known as sort of Big Fish Thursday. All the big fish come out on the Thursday, but we had literally been scratching for a bite, and the mate next door, I think he'd had one fish all week. He's been really punished, and when we're sitting there, his sort of left-hand rod's ripped off, and he's playing this fish for about 10 minutes. Now, before the week started, we all put £10 in the pot. Biggest fish takes the pot. My mate's PB at the time, Ben, I think it was like 40, mid-40s or something like that. I've landed this fish for him, and I've gone that easy all day long. As a mid-50 to top 50. New PB for him, £60 in his arse pocket. All handshakes, hugs all around, high fives, and all the rest of it. So few of the other lads have come into the swim to help sort the tripod out and the weigh and stuff and get everything zeroed. So I've got the net now, holding it like this. It's got really deep margins. I've got the net ready to break down. I'm like, right, ready with the mats and everything? Like, yeah, bring it in. So I've gone to collapse the net and the fish is just powered down in the deep margins. And as I've sort of took the block away, I've gone down with the fish. And as I've gone down, the net's opened and it's just jumped and gone. It unhooked itself in the net and it was gone. And I'm just there like, I've just lost my mate's PB and his 60 quid. He was like, right, oh, Dino, bring it over. And I'm just lifting an empty net out of the water. Oh, it's deadly silence. 6 years on, he still reminds me of it to this day. And I don't think he's let me land a fish to this day either.